Oh, hello, everyone, and welcome to a wide-angle show of TYT Sports. That is Denise, I am Rick, and that's also Jayar. So Dario Saric did something that is apparently the unwritten rule of basketball. With the 76ers up big, less than 20 seconds left, here is what he did and then what Jordan Clarkson did thereafter.
They stopped the losing streak at 2. They've won 7 straight prior to. Oh, Saric hits the bucket.
So what? Dunk it harder. Say to the crowd, what's up? Send them home crying. And I get it, Clarkson. You're trying to come over, build some social currency. But that's whack. Win the game.
We have talked about this so many times, all right? So many times.
Absolutely.
But before we get into it, here's what Jordan Clarkson had to say about chucking the ball at Dario Saric's back.
I thought, like we are NBA players, to be mad or something like that, for me it's like a little bit weird, but I want to say I want to apologize to the organization, to them, to fans. It's not against somebody, it's not like intentional. I didn't think in that moment. But another way, you saw the bend, he hit the guy in the back, and after that, Rodney Hood dunked the same ball, and you attack me. It's like a little bit correct, but sometimes like that, and I want to apologize. That's the point of my story.
My apologies. That was also Dario Saric, obviously speaking on the issue. Here is what Jordan Clarkson had to say about chucking the ball at Saric's back when they were up 8. After the dunk went in, they were up 10. So here's Jordan Clarkson on the matter.
Was the motivation to throw the ball to him the fact that he scored when the game was already decided?
Yeah, part of the game. If anybody say different, that they would have did something different or anything else, they lying. Especially dudes that played the game, they know what's up. That's it.
I wonder what Jordan Clarkson's GPA is. So,
what does that have to do with anything?
He looks like he's in school. So, ladies and gentlemen, first off, I know where you stand.
Oh, I'm glad you clarified.
Yeah, no problem.
Because I was thinking another way. Yeah.
Sir,
thank you.
Is it like a stupid unwritten rule that when a team is up big that you don't dunk on them or what? I know what you're gonna say. Known you for like 7 years. What are you?
I don't think it's a stupid unwritten rule. So the unwritten rule is the team that's up, they let the clock run out, right? But it's also an unwritten rule that you don't stop playing until the game's over. So I understand where Jordan Clarkson's coming from, especially because of the frustrations that he had and they were down. So of course, you're a little more bitter, you're a little more frustrated. But at the same time, if you're that bitter and you're that frustrated, then you play defense. You play defense. He clearly saw the lane that was open. He gave it to him. He was frustrated more at himself that he just let him score, thinking, "Oh, this guy's not going to score." Hey, I mean, the game is still.
I don't think that was it. Actually, I think
you don't think that was it.
I think he thought that the Sixers were not going to try to score again, and that's why he let him have a clear path. Of course,
because it's an unwritten rule, like I said, to run the clock if you're winning, if you're up.
Right.
You run the clock. But it's also an unwritten rule that you don't stop playing until the game is over.
I'll even call that a written rule. Shit.
Yeah.
Right. You learn that in the earliest levels of basketball. Any sport. You play to the whistle, right?
Right.
And it's not over. So obviously you know what I was gonna say. I don't like unwritten rules. I don't like crying over losing. I don't like retaliating, especially openly on the floor when you just lost and it's your fault. And then when you're down 10, and I saw that his line was 10 points. If you didn't want to be down by 10, score 20 points, Jordan.
Right.
So I mean, I'm just saying. So I think the hardest thing is I put so much on myself in sports and athletics that if I'm mad at myself to the point where no, I'm still trying to steal this ball at the end of this game, and we're down 8, and I know we can't win. It's cool. And so if you let him score, then if you don't care, then continue to not care. Let it go. But also, I mean, if I'm Saric, we didn't talk about his response. He apologized. He's being a good guy.
Right. This is a young team, though, too, at the same time. And we're not there. No one's really bringing up that they came back from 2 losses. So this was a great bounce back from the last 2 losses that they had. So I mean, I agree with your statement.
Yeah, Joel Embiid even told, if you could see it in the video also near the end, before the ball got thrown at him, Embiid is like, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because we've been told since we were 10 years old that it's good sportsmanship to stop playing the game.
Yeah.
Now, I know there's a-hole coaches that go play to the whistle no matter what. We're going to run this score by 50. And those are a-hole coaches.
Yeah.
Like,
I might end up being one of those coaches if I ever coached anyone. I'd be like, hey, let's keep playing. Why are we not playing anymore, right?
Well,
and not to rub it in, but just like, yeah, you don't, you know, if it's football, you don't just air it out and continue to just kill someone. But we're not going to just stop playing. Even think about it this way. Maybe there's a selfish factor. I've seen this and I love this. When it's going to be a shot clock violation to end the game before the actual clock goes out, you got to stand and dribble the ball and take a turnover?
Right.
No, I don't want a turnover. Why does it got to affect my stat line now?
I saw this previously when Frank Ntilikina in the first half of the season passed it up in order for him to not get a turnover, and I don't remember who exactly it was, but like all the coaches were laughing. They embraced it.
Because he handed it to his teammate, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
I saw this a month ago. I think it was with the Sixers, maybe. I think Embiid handed it to someone, and then or it was vice versa.
Yeah.
And then they got the turnover, and then they laughed. They knew it was.
So can we just get on the same page here? Because it sounds like we're all saying the same thing. Is that there shouldn't be a retaliatory way of Jordan Clarkson, for example, along with many other players in years past, going about it and saying, oh, well, you know what? He dunked on us when they were already going to win the game. Game was in the bag. So now I'm going to get pissed and fire a ball at him or shove him or whatever. Like, the fact is, and I relate this to baseball, as I've told Jayar many times, like, you don't want Yasiel Puig pimping a home run. You don't want Big Papi David Ortiz jogging around the bases and taking 45 seconds. Here's a clue. Get him out.
Right.
Don't let him score. They can do whatever they want after they score. And here's the other thing that I'll say. If a team is up 25 with 7 minutes to go and LeBron is still in the game, for example, and he has a breakaway dunk and he pimps it to the crowd after he dunks, isn't that also disrespectful in the same vein?
Well, if we're talking about disrespect from LeBron, did you guys see how he pushed the ref in the slow-mo cam? Oh, God. So, like, after Jordan Clarkson had threw the ball, and everyone was like backing up like each other. Here comes LeBron. Here comes a ref to like stop what's happening, and LeBron just comes and he's like,
yeah.
And it was in
It doesn't matter who's there. He just shows
like,
them.
bro.
Was this in this?
It's. I don't know if it was in that clip. Was it in that clip?
I remember seeing it. I cut it out just for time purposes, but I remember seeing it. You got to remember that Sam Smith, I believe, was the writer who put out a book called The Jordan Rules, and how the NBA adapted to, as all of us well know as basketball fans, the NBA adapted to allow Michael Jordan to succeed a little bit more, a shade more. They're doing the same thing with the LeBron rules as Denise is outlining right now, and that's totally fine. That's perfectly fine. But nonetheless, where do you guys stand? Let us know at youtube.com/TYT Sports as well on the unwritten rules of sports.